welcome and thanks for joining me today. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to share with you our journey as a school over the last 3 years. Prior to this, a number of issues had arisen that led to the need to somewhat of an overhaul of school culture, learner engagement and teacher and learning practice. And whilst we now know that COVID-19 has cemented the need for the educational experience to change significantly, like many, we held this belief long before that, and our work is centred in transforming our school into a contemporary, engaging learning environment relevant to the students of today. With the appointment of a new principal 3.5 years ago, and my subsequent appointment as vice principal nearly 3 years ago, we've embarked on a journey of innovation and creativity with the aim of improving student engagement, leading to achieving improved outcomes for staff, students, and the wider community. For that to occur, we focused on embracing innovation and creativity in bringing about significant pedagogical change and enhancing teacher growth. Providing a point of difference as a school to our neighbouring competition was important, but our long-term aim is to be a leading school in innovation and student engagement. We wanted to better engage students, enhancing lifelong learning and meeting 21st century needs in line with what was already an outstanding vision for learning that had recently been developed by one of the college's deputy principals. And in that respect, we started from a great foundation. Building community, industry and educational partnerships with the aim to develop not only new pathways for students, but pathways that were in line with global trends and offered students a realistic experience in the world they live in today. Another major aim was to re-engage the school community, and we recognised that this would all require us to effectively lead some very, very significant change in considerably shifting the school culture. But we've gone further than that because the philosophies we've adopted are also aimed to shift the culture away from what we all know as a traditional education model. Well, how did we go about all this? Well, they are the examples I want to share with you today. The successes we have experienced over the last 3 years have probably surpassed our expectations, and unfortunately the time allowed today is not enough to cover everything. So I'm just going to try and highlight the overarching philosophy and mention some of the big ticket items. Firstly, I think we do need to acknowledge that when we set out to bring about significant change, all the elements are intertwined and interlinked with each other. So it is important that we look past the possible inevitable outcomes and consider the effect such change can have on all elements of a school community and not just the purpose of the initial singular goal. We must give due consideration to what the far more reaching effects of such change can be as well. In the initial stages, we had a number of key messages that we wanted to deliver to staff, and they were and still are repeated regularly to ingrain these mindsets into the school. The first was to empower our staff to step away from traditional pedagogical practice, namely delivery of the curriculum through chalk, talk and assessment. We recognise the many challenges this poses, especially in light of the mandated procedures and curriculum we work under. But these aren't insurmountable hurdles, and they are most definitely not a reason not to try. We need to give our staff not only permission to be creative and innovate, but also permission to fail. Actually, we told them this would happen. Some things would not work with certain groups at certain times, but to recognise this too was a learning process. And we fully believed that in the long run, the successes would far outweigh the failures, and that any failures would not have a long-term detrimental effect. Closely aligned was the sentiment we owed our students more. We had an obligation to always strive to do better and to stop hanging on to the past because this was the way it had always been done, even though we knew it was not greatly benefiting our students. We also spent a lot of time on making our staff aware and upskilling them on 21st century teaching and learning pedagogy. And whilst we provided staff with a great deal of professional learning opportunities around this, we also used the work of Will Richardson in pointing out that there is a considerable disconnect between what today's research tells us and what we continue to do in our schools. As a staff, we needed to significantly lessen the gap between the two. Whilst we espoused the imperative need for reflective practice and professional growth, we introduced a number of formal requirements that staff have to meet in this area around a teacher performance growth model. Without going into details, one of the requirements of the staff is that they must survey all of their classes at least once a year. The aim of the survey is not only to give students a voice in their own learning, but it also allows staff to ascertain as to whether or not their perception of the learning experience actually matches that of the students. After the first year, in conjunction with our students, we also surveyed the whole school and put together a video to further highlight student opinion and give our students voice in future learning experiences. As you'll see in the following excerpt, it's one thing to espouse theoretical pedagogical practice, but when the feedback is coming directly from the familiar faces of students in your classroom, its effect is really very, very powerful.
A good learning environment is a teacher knowing what they're doing instead of having the class doing one activity for pretty much the whole week.
An environment that's fun, interactive, and where people can talk and ask questions without being judged.
Well, some teachers just stand there and tell us the answers without letting us answer questions ourselves. There's also copying out of textbooks, which I find doesn't really help me.
When teachers talk all the time and don't really ask us questions.
If they're constantly talking up in front of the class, if they're not involving the students, if it's just repetitive worksheets each lesson.
I hope that for the future there's more group works where we can talk with each other and more class discussions and things like that where students really get to tell their opinion. And
for teachers to try something different with the students, if they're trying something different, the students are going to be interested, they're going to enjoy what they're doing, and they're going to have a better time at the college.
To make it more interesting, I'll say make use of laptops more often and have some more hands-on experience with work.
Moving on, we've also done a great deal of work in forming strong partnerships with industry and community that have led to enhanced pathways for our students. In Western Australia, the curriculum in itself only provides future direction through two pathways, ATAR for university-bound students and General for TAFE, apprenticeships and general employment. We recognise the limits of this and believe students needed something far more broader to engage, cater for individual needs and find relevance to get a head start towards their own future aspirations. At the end of 2018, we designed our own pathway model that moved away from the previous hierarchical one to give all pathways equal footing and standing in our community and introduced a number of sub-pathways into the general pathway. One of the main reasons for this shift was to better cater for students whose health and well-being was being adversely affected by the enormous assessment schedule and associated stress that was becoming more and more apparent with the ATAR pathway. We don't have time to cover all of these elements, but two of the highly successful additions to the pathways are those to university without completing the ATAR. And we've done this through forging a strong partnership with both Edith Cowan and Murdoch universities here in Western Australia. Under this pathway, students can either commence the ECU program in Year 11 and complete it over 2 years, or the FlexiTrack High Murdoch program in Year 12 only. Such programs are part of the student's overall course selection. They count towards successful completion of secondary schooling in Western Australia, and upon successful completion, students are awarded a notional ATAR of 70 and can gain entrance to their respective university. One of the more exciting partnerships that we've also formed is with SAE Quantum, offering students an insight into the creative media industry, specialising in animation, audio, design, film, gaming, and web and mobile applications. SAE is recognised as a world leader in the creative media industry, with campuses in 23 countries, with state-of-the-art facilities and close industry links delivering students a practical education with exposure to real-world experiences. The partnership has brought around a brand new suite of courses across the college and provides students access to world-class facilities featuring contemporary technology and associated software, and on-site college mentoring from the Institute's master's students. These partnerships have strongly enhanced the college links with the wider community, and the innovative approach we've taken will provide a significant point of difference to not only neighbouring schools, but it sets the school on a path towards establishing itself as a standalone, unique 21st century college. Significantly, these new courses and the inquiry-based pedagogy they are based on is changing the face of education delivery and engagement in our school. In 2018, the college began the process of transitioning a small specialised Australian rules football program for girls in Year 9 and 10 into an authentic academy with a view to provide another point of difference for the college, enhance the engagement of students in all facets of their education, and provide a unique, contemporary and challenging learning experience. Closely aligned was the additional intent to build school spirit, a sense of belonging, and enhance student wellbeing. The Academy is embedded into the mainstream timetable and now open to both males and females from Year 7 to 12, additionally providing females with opportunities previously unavailable to them in the Australian rules environment and promoting gender diversity in sport. The success of the Academy has far surpassed our expectations in such a short time, both on and off the field. Numbers have grown steadily and the college has established strong partnerships with both national and state-based Australian rules football clubs, in addition to the Sports Science Department at Edith Cowan University. The Academy is experiencing significant successes across a multitude of facets, but most importantly, a strong culture of success has developed amongst students, combined with significantly increased parental and community engagement with the college. 2020 has seen the introduction of a personal character development module, accessing a multitude of guest speakers to both the female and male programs. Overall, the ongoing growth and success of the Academy and its associated programs on student education, health and wellbeing is outstanding and something we're incredibly proud of. Not being one to rest on our laurels, and with the belief that constant innovation is imperative, the college has now begun initial steps to introduce a specialised basketball program as well. At the very present, we are in the throes of planning to completely collapse the traditional timetable for the last 2 weeks of the academic school year and devote the time to project-based learning. Whilst not new to many schools, the college has undertaken some significant professional learning in this area to adequately equip staff. The most pleasing aspect is the excitement amongst the staff, let alone the innovation and creativity that they are demonstrating in designing the most amazing projects that the students are signing up to in droves. And such an initiative is testament to how far we have indeed come. As you can see in the quote, Albert Einstein commented that education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learnt in school. And under the traditional models of the past, you have to wonder what was actually left, and if therefore, what sort of value did students actually gain from their educational experience at school. I have a very strong belief that our role today must be to provide students with access to knowledge, skills and experiences that will stay with them forever. We must equip students with a passion for lifelong learning. The quote you can see on the screen at the moment is really the overarching premise that forms the foundation for all that we do. It's not a criticism of teaching staff and their practice in the past, but it must be an acknowledgement that we must constantly strive to do better and empower staff to do exactly that. Who knows what the future may then hold? The face of education at Mater Dei College has changed considerably over the last 3 years, but we are the first to recognise we have a long way to go to truly transform into a contemporary learning environment at the cutting edge of educational delivery, which is where we want to be. We must inspire in both our teachers and our students curiosity, innovation and creativity, and provide opportunity for critical thinking, collaboration, and the ability to grow in character and thus citizenship. The further we move away from the outdated traditional teaching and learning practices of the past and engage our students on a regular basis in real life, hands-on learning experiences, the better off we'll all be for it. And in doing so, we must give our students more voice and choice in their own learning experience. Only then will authentic deep learning take place, and will we adequately equip our students with the knowledge, skills and experience that they will require to thrive in today's world and into the future. So in conclusion, thank you for taking the time to join me today at Relearn. I hope you can take something away from this presentation that may be useful in your own schools. Please feel free to make contact and stay in touch. And once again, thank you so much. I believe we're now going to go live to see if anyone has any questions. Thank you.